So, Manchester United suffered a very disappointing loss to Brighton yesterday, a 3-1 loss, but we were massively outclassed. It was a good 20 minutes, and it's frustrating that Højlund's goal was ruled out. But Manchester United were not good enough. In fact, Manchester United were way off the pace. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 things we learned from that game, because it's very clear there's some issues with the dressing room, there's some kind of divide in the dressing room. Some of the problems go way beyond the manager. Some of the problems go higher up. What did Ten Hag get wrong? What did Ten Hag get right? What's to be positive about? And there are things to be positive about. What needs to improve? And we're really going to dissect that game and sort of the problems at Manchester United. So we're really going to talk about 5 things we learned from the game. Speaking about number 1, we're going to talk about the dressing room ease at Manchester United. The dressing room is not there. And there's a part of me that thinks that maybe this Sancho situation could be overshadowing deeper issues. This Sancho situation feels like a big overreaction and he won't apologise. Potentially, maybe there's more going on. Maybe there's more of a dressing room divide. Maybe players are starting to turn on Ten Hag. They don't like his substitutions. They don't like the favouritism. Maybe a few of the players are questioning the manager. But, the players shouldn't be doing that. The players should just be backing the manager's decision 100%, no matter what he does, just because he is the manager. But that doesn't happen at United. We saw it under Rangnick. We saw it under Ole. Players often turn on the manager, especially at this club. And Phil tweeted something that I did think quite a bit about. And Phil said this: I just watched United. It looks exactly like it did under Rangnick. Indifferent, half-hearted garbage, easy to play through, no spirit, and they're all over the place. That team will take a few serious 6 and 7 goal hidings against quality sides this season. And I think Phil is right. And the reason I'm worried about dressing room issues and rumours of dressing room divides, and we know that Ten Hag and Sancho in a bit of a fight, is it reminds me of Rangnick watching us play yesterday. It reminds me of a side that didn't really know what they were doing. Like, out of possession, I felt like Casemiro and Eriksen didn't really know where to position themselves or what to do. And part of that is on Ten Hag and part of that is on the players. I felt like the players weren't really sure what system they were playing or what to do, or just didn't look confident in the system. They looked like they didn't really understand this diamond or weren't backing Ten Hag's diamond. It's almost like, when we played under Rangnick, and maybe this is just me, but it almost felt like the team doubted themselves before the game. The team were like, nah, I don't rate this. I don't rate who Rangnick's picked. I don't rate this lineup. And they go into the game with that mentality of they're not sure why the manager's picked this player and, I don't know, not Pelistri or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And it was almost like that with the system. It was almost like they were doubting the system after the 20-minute mark. Because they were good for 20 minutes. They showed what they can do for 20 minutes. And as soon as we conceded a goal, they kind of gave up. They disbelieved. It's like, what you were doing for 20 minutes was good. It was working. What Ten Hag could deploy for 20 minutes was good. It was working. And then they conceded a goal, and it's like they just didn't follow the system. It's like they didn't believe in the system. It's like they didn't believe they'd get back. There was no spirit in the team. They looked like a team that were divided. And I don't like to say that. I don't like to be negative, but it really looked like a team that wasn't playing for each other, that wasn't fighting for the manager, that didn't really believe in what they were doing or the system, and it lacked the fight, it lacked the spirit, it lacked the teamwork. We didn't look like a team today. We were walking. I love Marcus Rashford, and he can make something out of nothing, but his defensive work rate was embarrassing, his lack of tracking back. The team wasn't pressing, it wasn't tracking back, it wasn't doing the basics, it wasn't covering defensively, and that's where we're a big mess defensively. I think going forward, we did some good things. Eriksen did some good things, Rashford did some good things going forward, but defensively it was a mess. Casemiro was awful, but partly not his fault because he was required to cover too much ground. And it was just the walking from the team that really let me down. The walking, the lack of fight, the way that the heads dropped after going 1-0 down, just like versus Spurs. As soon as we go a goal down, the heads drop. It's like they give up. It's like they don't believe it. And that's something that Ten Hag worked really hard to get back last season. And then they've just completely lost it this season. And the one thing that really stood out to me was the 2 players that did have their heads up, the 2 players that were fighting the whole time were Reguilon and Hannibal Mejbri. Reguilon and Hannibal Mejbri were the 2 players in that game who had the most to prove. Reguilon, isn't Man United level player really, and Hannibal Mejbri's a young kid coming on with something to prove. And Reguilon and Hannibal Mejbri, they were the 2 best players on the pitch, not because they were the 2 best players on the pitch, because they were probably, in terms of quality, the 2 worst, but they were the 2 best players on the pitch yesterday versus Brighton, because they were the 2 players that gave 100%, that ran, that did everything, that played for the manager. And I personally don't think the players did. The second thing I want to talk about is the problems go way beyond the manager at United. The problems at Manchester United, it goes beyond sacking Ten Hag. People are like, let's sack Ten Hag, let's bring De Zerbi in, let's sack Ten Hag, let's bring Pep in. And I tell you this now, we could have Pep Guardiola join us next summer and we still won't win Premier Leagues until changes are made higher up. Gary Neville said this, and he makes a point. Oh, and yes, the Glazers are responsible. It's how it works. You own a business and everything good and bad sits with you. Inherited the best in all areas. They've overseen 10 years of mediocrity on the pitch and off the pitch. They've set a culture of ill discipline, indecision and uncertainty that runs throughout the club. It would be best if they sold the club with some speed and efficiency and allowed at least the off the pitch items to be corrected properly. That resets the tone and culture. Football is volatile, so results on the pitch can be erratic and cynical. But if the off the pitch situation, including the owner's direction of leadership and leadership, are spot on, it gives you a better chance to succeed on it. And he's absolutely spot on with this, Gary Neville. Absolutely spot on. You can sack Ten Hag and you can get another manager in, but the reason this club is so toxic is it's not just about the manager. And look, Ten Hag has to take some blame for yesterday. His substitutions were shocking, but it's not just about sacking the manager. It's about the culture that's set. Every single manager, we set up the same problems. That they have this culture of players that don't have the right attitude. We spend money and people are like, why are you Glazers out? They spent so much money. Look what the Glazers spent 400 million on, and look what Brighton's lineup was for 17 million. Look what Brighton spent 17 million on. So people the Glazers employed to spend money. People were saying, oh, it's Ten Hag's talent ID. He brought Mason Mount. Ten Hag shouldn't be choosing who we sign. Ten Hag should be approving who we sign, but it's not Ten Hag's job to say, let's sign Mason Mount, let's sign Amrabat, let's sign Højlund. That should be the director of football's job to realise what Ten Hag wants to do, realise what Ten Hag's system needs, and sign the players. John Murtagh, Richard Arnold, they don't have a clue about football. They don't watch Man United and go, this side massively needs Kim Min-jae, we're lacking that in defence. They listen to Ten Hag and say, what do you want? And he's saying, well, I'm missing this, missing this, and missing that. And they don't know which kind of players fill the gaps that we're missing. You know, we need a proper director of football. And, you know, people are being very critical of Erik Ten Hag, and a lot of people have seen our Erik Ten Hag out. And look, Erik Ten Hag deserves a bit of blame. I think he was naive. But if you seriously think that sacking Ten Hag is going to solve the problems and we're going to be great again after we sack Ten Hag, you're ridiculous. It's about the owners. We have bigger issues than the manager. It doesn't matter who the manager is. We'll still have the same issues. And this is what I said. I said a lot of fans are turning on Ten Hag, but at the end of the day, he's only been here 15 months and needs time. So Alex didn't hit the ground running and was allowed to make mistakes. Instead of sacking managers every 18 months, we should be backing them and riding out the first 3 years of a rebuild, starting to pay off with Arsenal and Arteta. Arteta finished 8th, 5th and 5th, didn't he? Or 8th, 5th and 2nd. You know, and Arteta's allowed 3 years for finishing 8th, 8th and 5th. And look what Arteta's doing now. And it's like Ten Hag's not allowed more than 16 months. You know, you've got to give him time. Sir Alex was given time. You've got to give him time to set the culture, because what Woodward did, what Ollie did, set us back many years. You know, the team Ten Hag inherited was awful. The fact that we got top 4 and won a trophy last season was a miracle when you actually think about it, because we didn't. When you looked at us at the beginning of last season, no one thought we were going to get top 4 and a trophy, and Ten Hag did that. And he needs time to build on that, and he wasn't given the backing this summer to properly build on that. And, you know, I said, look, it's starting to pay off. I said Ten Hag's in-game management was at fault today, but managers make mistakes and learn. Not only did Erik Ten Hag inherit the worst PL team in our history, but this season has presented additional challenges. Two new signings arrived injured, Højlund and Amrabat. He didn't get the centre-back he wanted. One of Kim Min-jae didn't get him. One of Pavard didn't get him. One of Todibo didn't get him. We've already had 12 plus injuries. Our 3 right-wingers are basically on leave, suspended, kicked out for causing problems. Louis van Gaal, Jose, Ollie, it's Ten Hag, it's now deja vu. A new manager comes in, they get significant backing at United, they finish in the top 4. The following summer, the manager misses out on key targets and is told he cannot sign some of the players he wants. So then that manager goes into the next season, 1 or 2 players short, injuries happen, so things start to go wrong. When things start to go wrong, the players turn on the manager, the dressing room is in turmoil, and then the fans turn on the manager, they want the manager out, the cycle continues, we get a new manager, and this cycle won't stop until we have better decision makers higher up. For me, Ten Hag has to take some blame, and my third point is Ten Hag needs to improve his in-game management. He has to take some blame today. But if you seriously think sitting there and going Ten Hag out is going to really fix this club, then you are very naive. It's not about changing the manager. Give Ten Hag 3 more transfer windows. Continually back him, because I generally believe, and I added to this as well. I said I think Ten Hag was massively at fault today, but with the right signings and right people around him higher up, like he had at Ajax, I still believe he can succeed. For me, I still believe if you put the right people around Ten Hag, like he had at Ajax, Overmars, Van der Sar, you gave him the right signings, the right backing, Ten Hag could succeed. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a day. It's, you know, people expect rebuilds to happen in a day. It does take a while, especially with how far Woodward and Ollie set us back. And I think, you know, for me, you can sack Ten Hag and maybe there's a slight improvement in new manager bouts. And maybe Ten Hag, maybe he's not the best option. I don't know. I like Ten Hag. I'm going to back Ten Hag on this. Because I just think, actually, we always turn on the manager and then we don't turn on the owners. The real problem is ownership. Pep Guardiola wouldn't win a Premier League title with Manchester United. I guarantee you that now, because I don't think anything will change until we make better decisions higher up. As Gary Neville said, they've set a bad culture. Sail on, sail off. Even Alan Shearer is saying it. He feels sorry for Ten Hag because everyone at the club doesn't know if the sail's on and off. There's too many distractions and it goes beyond that. Now, I will be critical of Ten Hag. I do think his in-game management was bad. Taking Højlund off and bringing on Martial was ludicrous. He was rightly booed for that. The fact that Martial came on and does nothing when you've got a young, hungry Palestri and Garnacho on the pitch that could run at Brighton and really cause some problems. Palestri and Garnacho should have got way more than 6 minutes. Højlund shouldn't have come off unless it was just a precaution because of his injury. Rashford probably should have come off ahead of Højlund. I think Hannibal Mejbri was actually a sub that worked in the end, so he scored the goal and fair play for that. But having to play Bruno at right centre back, bringing on Martial that's kind of ineffective, not giving Garnacho and Palestri a proper run in. McTominay staying on the pitch for so long, he was dreadful. Eriksen was good in the first half, but the second half he was dreadful. We couldn't catch up with the tempo. Erik ten Hag's subs got it wrong. He made us worse. We were 1-0 down. We had a chance to get back into the game, and I said, look, if we take McTominay off and bring on Palestri and go back to a 4-3-3, because Brighton have sussed out the diamond, maybe we could get back into it. Rashford on the left, Højlund up top, Palestri on the right, 4-3-3, Bruno back in the middle, Eriksen and Casemiro behind, or maybe Mejbri behind. I said, maybe we can get back in it. But yeah, no, Ten Hag's man management was wrong. But I generally think we will get better. I'm not so worried. It sounds crazy. I know I was a bit emotional. I was like, end the season now, and all that stuff. But actually, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not too worried about the season. I think things are going to pick up. I think, we will get better. And I think it's not as bad as I think we think it is. It's the players aren't doing enough running and doing what they should be doing. Ten Hag's making a few bad in-game decisions. But you've got to look at injuries. Amrabat's going to come into the squad and make a big difference as well. And I think H made a really good point here that I'm going to share with you, which kind of relates to my fourth point, is this. He said, still relatively calm for the season ahead, but I don't blame people for being angry or disappointed with the season so far. And he's absolutely spot on with that. He said, Rafa and Shaw come back. Amrabat will be introduced. Højlund should be getting full 90 soon. Matt will be back. I don't think I can judge Ten Hag critically without the main bulk of his squad and signings. It's hard, but I'm trying to stay positive and go again. I need to add the pretty big elephant in the room, fine margins. The game is about fine margins, and we simply haven't got the rub of the green yet. It will come soon, and we'll have a match day soon, I hope. And he's right. Ten Hag hasn't actually been able to play with his squad, the main bulk of his squad yet. And I think, those fine margins haven't been paying off for us. It's not an excuse, but another day that Garnacho goal versus Arsenal is onside because it's a matter of millimetres and we beat Arsenal 2-1 and we have 3 more points than we have right now. Another day that Højlund goal is given because, you could very 50-50 whether it's in or out. They didn't have the technology. It's 1-1. We get momentum back. Maybe win the game 2-1. Against Tottenham Hotspur, really good 20 minutes. Could have got a penalty. Romero didn't get a penalty. We were the better team versus Tottenham Hotspur in the first half. We actually created 4 big chances against them and we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And then obviously Tottenham scored and then we got absolutely battered in the second half and lost momentum. On another day, we could have maybe gone 2-0 up against Tottenham at half-time and could have beaten Arsenal 2-1 and the goal could have counted. And that's not an excuse or anything, but, with the injuries, with the decisions, we've not had that little bit of luck yet as well. And I think we've not had the main bulk of the squad to really judge Ten Hag. Now, the fifth and final thing I do want to talk about is the fitness needs to improve. For me, these players look unfit. This is the most concerning thing for me, is that we're 5 games into the season and it looks like these guys have been playing 90 minutes twice a week for 6 months. It looked like how we looked towards the end of last season where the fitness just wasn't there. They were really struggling. And I think for me, maybe that's the lack of depth. I don't know what it is, but these players look exhausted. It's like they haven't recovered from last season. And I hate the fact that it seems that we can't have 2 good seasons in a row. Every time we have a good season, we have a bad season the season after as well. I think there's just so many problems going on at United at the moment. But anyway, guys, that's 5 things we've learned. Please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. Let me know your thoughts and bye.